is Ken Thratzman. I'm the Assistant Director of Air Quality Regulation and Planning within the Division of Air Quality in the Department of Environmental Protection. I will be the hearing officer tonight. On the hearing panel with me tonight is Joel Leon, Section Chief of the Major Source Program, also with the Division of Air Quality. The purpose of this hearing is to seek public comments on proposed significant modification to the operating permit for Transco Compressor Station 505, located at 623 Case Road, Neshannock Station, Somerset County, New Jersey. In the proposal, the proposal is to install and operate the following significant sources: 2 simple cycle turbines running on natural gas, 150.75 million BTUs per hour each, and they're used to drive 2 natural gas compressors. 1 emergency generator, also running on natural gas. It's 18.27 million BTU per hour to provide backup power during emergencies. There's also a storage vessel of 5,000 gallons that's used to store natural gas condensate liquids. In addition, there are some insignificant sources covered by this action: 2 compressors which are driven by the turbines, a suction header and discharge header of the compressor station, and an oil water storage tank and truck loading area. The statement of basis details all proposed changes related to this project. You may obtain a copy from the receptionist desk outside the hall. The department is proposing to approve this permit. The basis for approval is the facility's demonstration of compliance with all applicable state and federal regulations, air pollution control laws and rules. These are summarized in the statement basis and proposed permit conditions. If anyone demonstrates to the department that the facility would not comply with any of the applicable air pollution control laws and rules, the department's proposed decision to approve this permit or the requirements imposed in the draft permit may be changed. I will be calling each person to speak in the order they have registered to present their comments and questions. I wish to advise you that this is not an adversarial hearing. Persons who speak will not be sworn in as witnesses, nor will cross-examination be permitted. In general, except for elected officials, people will be called to testify in the order they are registered. If you are an elected official as registered to speak and wishes to speak at a specific time, please advise our receptionist out front. Once you are called, I ask that you state your name, who you represent, and please spell your last name for our court reporter's assistance. We really appreciate that. A transcript of this proceeding will be prepared, and the members of this panel will be closely listening to your comments. Upon completion of a full technical legal review of the questions and issues raised, the department will issue a formal response to comments document, together with its final determination on the permit action under consideration. Where your concerns or comments are not clear to us, we may ask for clarification so that we can best consider your comments as we complete our review of this application. We appreciate you taking the time to come here tonight. A copy of the response and comments document and the department's final decision on this permit application will be sent to all commenters who provide the receptionist with their contact information or send in written comments with contact information. It looks like we're going to have a good number of speakers tonight. So to ensure that everyone who wants to speak is given an opportunity, we ask that speakers limit their presentation to about 4 minutes. After 3 minutes, Joel will hold up a yellow card. That's a 1-minute warning, if you will. And if you hit the 4-minute mark, we're going to put the red card up. I'm not going to cut you off in mid-sentence. Please work with us and your co-attendees here tonight. But, we want to respect everyone's opinions. This hearing will continue until all speakers have had an opportunity to present their comments. Speakers who have prepared written comments are also asked to leave a copy with the stenographer. Should you have insufficient time to present all your concerns, or should you think of additional concerns after the close of this hearing, you may submit your comments in writing to the department until September 6, 2022. If you have extensive written comments, please summarize the key points orally and submit the details in writing by that September 6, 2022 date. Anyone who wishes to speak should complete a registration card out front at the receptionist desk, and they'll be run down to us in the order they get filled out. When your name is called, please come forward, state your name, and spell it for the benefit of the stenographer, and identify who you represent. So, like I said, 4 minutes each. Please respect everybody else's time. Please keep the crowd noise to a minimum. Even if you don't like something that somebody else says, please respect their time and their opportunity to get the mic. First up to register was Melanie Morano. Melanie.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. And I have it written so you can. I'm Melanie Moreno, Deputy Director of the Somerset County Board of Commissioners, and I am here tonight to talk about the Transco compressor station in Branchburg Township, which is part of our county, Somerset County, and the negative impacts it has for public safety and health. I want you to envision this, a scenic, bucolic neighborhood, just short of Highway Route 202, near the headwaters of the Raritan River, a block from Somerset County's award-winning Neshannock Valley Golf Course. That's where the Transco compression station sits. It's been there for years, polluting the air and with particulates and noise. Just 9 years ago, the same compressor was the scene of an accident that resulted in 13 people injured. Branchburg's volunteer fire department was called to the scene and fortunately were able to diffuse the fire. The key word here is volunteer fire department for a small town that doesn't have large infrastructure of public safety equipment or paid personnel to do that. Even today, this original compressor spews air and noise pollution into the Somerset County atmosphere with harmful byproducts including carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, formaldehyde, and other particulates which are known carcinogens dangerous to heart and lungs and contribute to greenhouse gases. Right next to family homes and a public golf course. Now Transco wants to increase capacity on those same lines and expand the compressor station in this quaint residential and recreational neighborhood. We know Transco has a spotty safety record. 69 significant accidents on their pipeline since 1998, more than 3 every year, including the 2013 Branchburg fire. Imagine if the capacity were greater in 2013. How much worse could that situation have been to the people, the homes, the highway, the golf course, the farms, and the Raritan River? Imagine if there's a fire in the future if this project is approved. And with more gas flow comes more pollution, increases in sulfur dioxide and particulate matter, and more noise. And why do they need to increase the flow of natural gas? The State of New Jersey Board of Public Utilities has determined that New Jersey has enough gas to meet its current and future demands. So the compressor that will pollute and endanger our local Somerset County communities is being expanded to serve other states? I'm not sure. I stand today to express my deep concerns for the health and safety of Somerset County's residents, visitors, businesses, farms, and our environment from the expansion of this compressor station, and I urge the local community to educate themselves about Transco and this new compressor station, and I ask the DEP to listen to our concerns of public safety and public health when reviewing this project. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Our next registered speaker is Michael J. Stiles.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael J. Stiles, S-D-I-L-E-S. I'm the business manager of Pipeline Local 274. I'm here to speak on behalf of 1,400 members and their families, many of which live in the surrounding communities. I came here today to speak in support of Williams Transco's Regional Energy Access Project that will supply more natural gas to our region, removing the reliance on number 2 and number 6 fuel oil that has a far greater impact on our environment than natural gas, which is cleaner and more efficient. Let's face the facts. We all want a cleaner environment for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, etc. But we can't simply turn off the switch of one energy source and turn on the switch of another. We must do what we can now. The Regional Energy Access Project has been designed to increase our natural gas capacity by utilizing existing infrastructure that will help eliminate capacity restraints in the region, especially during peak heating demands in the winter. The Regional Energy Access Project is not proposing to expand its mainline transmission system. It is only proposing upgrading the 205 compressor station with new state-of-the-art low-emission gas turbine engines, which will reduce major air emissions by 97%. Williams has also been Williams Gas will also be using state-of-the-art compressors powered by electricity in part of the project. All of these will be ultra-quiet and have almost zero emissions on the project. The project has also been designed with our future environmental needs in mind. It is being constructed in a manner that will be adaptable to renewables, clean hydrogen, and renewable natural gas plants. Williams has stated it is committed to work with the state of New Jersey to achieve its goals in the Energy Master Plan. At the same time, providing a sufficient supply of natural gas to meet our region's current demands, and while we work towards future reductions of our natural gas consumption. The Regional Energy Access Project also meets and exceeds New Jersey DEP's state-of-the-art emissions control technology and stringent air quality standards. Williams is continuously committed to improving their natural gas delivery system and bringing major improvements to our safety, our environment, and our health. Williams has also recognized the importance of doing business in our region with an emphasis on protecting our natural habitat. Thank you very much. Michael Stiles,
I will ask, as much as I know we appreciate your champion, please keep the applause of a bare minimum. It would help move things along. No. Next up to speak is Dennis Hart. Dennis Hart, H-A-R-T.
Good evening, Ken, Joel, good to see you. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Dennis Hart, H-A-R-T, I'm the Executive Director of the Chemical Industry Council, or the Chemistry Council of New Jersey. As a way of background, I spent nearly 3 decades working at the Department of Environmental Protection. I spent 6 years in the construction industry, getting high school minority students into the trade unions, and I've spent 5.5 years now at the Chemical Industry, at the Chemistry Council of New Jersey. Chemistry manufacturing is the single largest manufacturing sector in New Jersey, with 45,000 employees that our companies represent. We are 18% of all manufacturing employees in this state, and we're the largest economic driver of the state with over $25 billion impact on New Jersey's economy. Now, the reason, other than my big ego, that I give you my background is that I think this project satisfies everything that you're looking for. This project expands our natural gas capacity as well as lowers the current emissions that are going on at the facility right now, which is a win-win. In manufacturing, we rely on a reliable and adequate supply of natural gas for manufacturing in New Jersey. There are many situations, a number of times our member companies are asked to curtail their natural gas usage, particularly in cold winter months, so that there's enough natural gas for residents. During those time periods, the companies either have to scale back, shut down, or switch to oil fire, which is much have more of an impact on the environment than natural gas. So maintaining a good supply of clean natural gas, upgrading the system is important. It's important because manufacturing, construction has always been the way that New Jersey has built the middle class. It's how our citizens have got good paying jobs, and we need to do whatever we can to keep that middle class and keep these good jobs. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Our next speaker, I'm going to struggle. I can't read this very well. Edward Dreidel?
Driscoll.
Sorry, you have to.
That's okay. I told her, they told me to sign, but then I should have, instead of printing. Good evening, my name is Ed Driscoll. I am also with the Pipers Local 274. And I do represent over 1,400 members and their families also. And this project is a much needed project for the area, but that's just for the project. But I'm looking for my members and their families, and we need to work. And this is perfect. You're going to hear, oh, construction is only a temporary job. Well, that's what we do. We do temporary jobs. And that's how I made a career over 40 years of working temporary jobs. And I just hope, I know you guys looked into it with the emissions and everything else, that this is all under, the state regulations. And I'm sure that you guys did your job, and let's just move forward and start this project as soon as possible because my members need it. Thank you.
Next up is Chris Hartman.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Hartman. It's Hartman. I'm Senior Vice President of the New Jersey Alliance for Action. The Alliance for Action is a nonpartisan, nonprofit association. We represent thousands of business, labor, government, utility, education, professional, and other New Jersey leaders. And our mission is to improve New Jersey's economy through the promotion of environmentally friendly construction and infrastructure projects. And we focused on promoting responsible investment in New Jersey and the region, and that includes energy delivery, renewable energy, transportation, water, coastal protection. And this proposed upgrade of the Transco pipeline infrastructure point is, to us, a good example of our philosophy. The Alliance for Action has been in support of the overall Williams Regional Energy Access Program in Somerset. Earlier this year, we spoke before the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in support of an environmental impact statement for Williams Project in Gloucester County. And tonight, we're endorsing this Somerset County facet of the Access Project, upgrading the existing facilities at Transco's Compressor Station 505. It'll provide the state's population with additional natural gas supply without laying new pipeline. Upgrades at this facility are critically needed. It'll replace existing engines and replace them with gas turbines that will reduce the air emissions currently at the site by more than 95%. I'm going to put more details in our written comments that I'll submit, but a couple of points I did want to hit on. The improvement will enhance the function of the facility, not expand it. Number two, the administration's energy master plan calls for 50% clean energy by 2030 and 100% clean energy by 2050. The natural gas supplied by REA will help power the energy transition. It brings about a more resilient energy system while renewable energy projects come online. And I'd like to add also that a few days ago, we spoke at a U.S. Department of Interior hearing on offshore wind, and a mix of energy sources is needed, and they're going to be for the foreseeable future. So we're in support of both the Alliance for Action. Most of the additional supply will benefit the residents of this state. And the projects proposed by Williams recognize the continuing emergence of renewables and are designed to handle them. That includes stuff like green hydrogen and renewable natural gas blending. These projects also provide good-paying construction jobs and additional tax revenue to both the state and the municipalities in which they're located. Another thing I'd like to mention is that the Williams Company has a proven history of investment in the state, and $10 million over the last 5 years. Ongoing maintenance of these existing and planned facilities are going to generate more employment and also increase reliability, which is needed, especially now. Finally, despite the impressive progress that Jersey has made in promoting new and alternative energy, the need for natural gas isn't going away anytime soon. As we speak tonight, a little more than 40% of our state's energy is supplied through natural gas. The state's energy policy has to remain open to expansion of pipeline capacity that may potentially be necessary. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
side that says you want to speak. Everybody who's attended should have registered as an attendee at least. I was remiss earlier, are there any political officials in the room that wish to speak? Okay. I should have said that up front. Dan Kennedy is next on our list. Dan?
Good evening. My name is Dan Kennedy. I represent the Utility and Transportation Contractors Association, where I serve as their senior director. The UTCA represents approximately 1,000 member firms. We all do all kinds of infrastructure work across the state. Our members deliver on clean water projects, increased mobility projects. The projects we deliver protect critical assets necessary for our society to operate. And yes, greater access to reliable, cleaner, more cost-effective energy to serve our state and region. Thank you to the DEP staff. I understand how much work it takes to draft these permits, to engage in this process, and to listen to all of us speak tonight. I'm going to focus on why I'm here. We seldom testify on individual projects. We chose to support this project because we trust the maybe 4 or 5 people in the room that actually understand this permit, that you believe, because your draft says so, that the upgrades at this existing compressor station would retire these older engines and replace them with new, more efficient ones, meet your standards. I served at the department. I've got a background in environmental science, and I serve on my local planning board. I don't purport to understand every single intricacy of an air permit. It's not my specialty. I do, through my service in state government and experience with local government, have a lot of trust and faith that the folks, some of which are at the table, and the folks that back you up, understand the rules and are applying them properly. The second reason, we want to support a project that was carefully designed to avoid and minimize impacts on the state. We feel that a project like this, if it can't be approved, really none could. This would have consequences to the environment and the economy. I believe the county commissioners properly stated a good case for why to retire this older engine and replace it with a newer one. Third, we want to support the governor and Commissioner LaTourette, who have both rejected the push for any moratorium on any asset like this at all. We think that carefully designed and constructed projects like this that meet your standards should be approved. And in some ways, the credibility of the DEP is at stake here, because based on the final EIS and the DEP draft air permit, I personally agree with the determination that the impacts would be less than significant because of the 97% reduction. No impacts on land-based environmental assets. It avoids areas of the state that have been identified as overburdened and meet and exceed all the safety standards. I'm not going to restate the business case for this. Some of my friends and colleagues have already made that case, and I think they've done so well. We're here to support this model project or to support more detailed comments by the deadlines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Herman Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Herman Rodriguez. I live in Hillsborough in Somerset County. I'm a member of the Labor's Local 472, and I have been for 24 years. I have 24 years of work experience in all types of general and utility construction work. I'm here tonight to support the Williams Transco Station 505 upgrade project. I know that New Jersey is a long-term transition to more renewable types of energy. Our union builds both wind and solar, but I also know that millions of New Jersey residents heat and cool their homes and businesses with natural gas and will need to do so for many years to come. I also know that it's important to renovate and improve existing natural gas infrastructures, and these upgrades reduce emissions and improve facility safety. That is the case with the Branchburg project. I ask you to please support the permit for this project. Thank you.
Next speaker registered is Randy Brolo.
support the Williams Transco Compressor Station upgrade project. Our union builds in all forms of energy infrastructure. We are currently working on building a South Jersey wind port. We, along with other members of building trades, will be building on the ground infrastructure needed to orchestrate PSE&G Ocean Wind 1 project. Several of our signatory contracts build utility scale solar fields, and we also upgrade natural gas infrastructure. I have now attended a few hearings on compressor stations and would like to make a few points that I think are relevant. All of our work today in natural gas spaces involves increasing reliability, improving safety, and reducing emissions, which in our view is certainly a case for the East 300 project. It is up to the folks here on stage, the Air Quality Division of our State Department of Environmental Protection, who are qualified and trained and evaluate whether the new equipment and reduce the air emissions that are proposed to upgrade meet stringent and federal and standard guidelines. They have reviewed this department and granted this draft as a permit. As it also included the air pollution control operating permit should be approved. The transition to a clear energy future will not occur overnight. It will take time. According to U.S. Energy Information Service, natural gas and nuclear energy account for almost New Jersey's electricity to the next generation. In 2020, the two fuels together accounted 90% of total electricity produced. Gas makes up to 50%. Of this demand, electricity is growing. How will you and I, and millions of New Jerseyans who will go home tonight, turn on our lights, heat and cool our homes without current systems of natural gas? Answer that question. We won't, until the alternative sources that are being developed are now in place. I mentioned unions are building out New Jersey's future wind industry in South Jersey. First project is almost two more years of regulatory review and several years to build out the planned 98 wind turbines. This new wind industry will take well over a decade to fully build out. Further, the natural gas distribution system of our members are upgrading will have a very near future to carry green, hydrogen, and renewable gas, carbon capture technologies throughout. So, we support the department's findings that this air permit should be granted, and we urge you to do so. Thank you very much.
I didn't say it earlier, but please, a reminder, turn off cell phones when it's off here. I have two of them that are off up here. So please, and thank you. Next speaker is Ryan Pelzel.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Pelzel, P-E-L-Z-E-L. I'm with Michael's General Contractor. We'll install the new cleaner units, replacing the older ones. And I just want to get to one quick fact here. This job in 505 in Somerset County will create over 170,000 direct union labor hours for your local trades. That's all I have. Thank you.
Next up is Teresa Callahan.
Hello, Teresa Callahan, C-A-L-L-A-H-A-N. I live in Branchburg, less than 5 minutes from Compressor Station 505. I have no expectation that Williams Transco, or for that matter, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, care about the health and safety of our community. However, I do expect NJDEP and Governor Murphy to act in the public interest and protect the health and safety of the residents of Branchburg and Somerset County. Compressor Station 505 is surrounded by suburban homes and farms. Williams Transco wants to double the size of this existing compressor station, which will dramatically increase pollution from this plant. There are numerous documented examples of serious health impacts to residents Compressor Station 505 had an explosion that injured 13 people. This safety issue is not irrelevant to your consideration of the air permit, since obviously when accidents happen at compressor stations, large quantities of methane and other pollutants are released. There have been countless explosions at compressor stations. Compressor Station 505 is just one example of the infrastructure disaster that Williams-Transco wants to increase in New Jersey. Williams-Transco's unreliable safety record should cause NJDEP to question all certifications that the company has made to the agency in their attempt to attain this permit. Last year, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order number 274, which establishes targets for greenhouse gas emissions. At the time, the governor said, quote, "We must meet the devastating impacts of global warming and climate change with bold, intentional action," unquote. Since compressor stations, such as this one, increase greenhouse gas emissions, here is an opportunity for NJDEP and Governor Murphy to take bold, intentional action by denying this permit. I urge you to do so. Thank you.
Next up is Alan Swanson.
Good evening. Alan Swanson, S-W-A-N-S-O-N. I'm the chair of the Velonica Group of the Sierra Club, New Jersey chapter. The group represents most of Union and Morris counties, portions of Essex County, and portions of Somerset County. I'm also a member of the executive committee of the New Jersey chapter of the Sierra Club. It's not in dispute that our planet is in very serious crisis in terms of the future of our environment and our existence. Many speakers tonight and other material you will receive will demonstrate that fact and point out the negative impact of the proposed project. I'd like to take a somewhat different approach tonight, though. That is, we face a potential for destruction of our atmosphere as a result of the kinds of emissions emanating from the type of facility we're discussing tonight. In response, we have seen many raise the alarm, as some of us are doing tonight. In response to that alarm, many levels of government and private institutions have recognized that action must be taken. That action has resulted in commitments to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and create a reduction in the gases which have created the climate crisis we're currently experiencing. Indulge me for a minute while I mention some personal experience. When I was growing up in Metuchen and Warren Township in the 50s and the 60s, I know I don't look it, we faced another threat that everyone recognized could result in the destruction of the life as we know it on this planet. That threat was the fact that we were producing nuclear weapons at a pace that would permit those nations possessing those weapons to destroy our planet many times over. The result of recognizing that threat was brought out by people who were raising the alarm, like today. The result was SALT, the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, followed by an agreement between the Soviet Union at that time and the United States, Nixon and Brezhnev. That agreement was signed in May 1972, and it was ratified by the Senate on August 3rd, 1972, a little over 50 years ago. Imagine if shortly after the SALT agreement was ratified, a movement arose which said we need to increase the capacity to deliver nuclear destruction by increasing the nuclear weapons that we're producing. Reasonable people all over the planet would have been in arms, raising their arms in the streets to prevent such an absurd notion. Today we are faced with a crisis that has the potential to end the existence of us on this planet. We know what the cause of that crisis is, and we have made commitments at the state, national, and international level to address that crisis by reducing the amount of fossil fuel emissions we produce. Not only are we committed to a freeze, we're committed to a reduction. I ask you, does it make sense to grant permission for a plan which will increase the capacity for the very product that has created the crisis that is threatening our existence? Like nuclear weapons over 50 years ago, we cannot go back on our commitment. We must move forward. Moving forward would be making the producers of these gases recognize that it is time for them to devote their money, their expertise, their technology to create renewable sources of energy to avoid the crisis we're facing. Thank you very much.
Again, I'm going to remind everybody, please refrain from talking or speaking over other speakers. Please respect their time at the podium. Next speaker is Matt Smith. Matt?
Good evening, Matt Smith. I'm the New Jersey State Director for Food and Water Watch, speaking on behalf of our 72,000 members and supporters across the state to urge the DEP and Governor Murphy to use their authority to reject the air permit for this proposed compressor station 505. I want to start by quoting the DEP Commissioner who spoke today at the Senate hearing on climate change, stating climate change is the single greatest threat to our communities, economies, and our way of life in New Jersey. We must make faster and more considerable changes to reduce emissions of climate pollutants. It would be ironic if it weren't tragic that mere hours after he made those statements, we're here at a DEP hearing on a permit that would increase New Jersey's greenhouse gas emission inventory by up to 18 million metric tons annually, nearly an 18% increase over today's levels. This is shameful. To address some of the comments made by speakers in support of the compressor station, we don't actually need the gas. The New Jersey Board of Public Utilities has conducted a study with the London Economics Institute that said that New Jersey has sufficient pipeline capacity for all scenarios through 2030. Furthermore, the speaker from Michelle's speaking in favor of the project, we've seen some of their work when they did the construction on the Tennessee gas pipeline up in North Jersey. They took hundreds of thousands of trees without compensation to the state. They tried to, even when they were legally obligated to replant, those saplings were devastated by the local deer population. They also planted invasive species that had no business being in our forests. Most of the license plates we saw for Michelle were out of state, from Oklahoma. So we're not buying the notion that somehow this is going to be a job boom for New Jersey people. Furthermore, we've talked to the Branchburg residents. We went out and canvassed. The residents there are smelling gas fumes on a regular basis. It's so bad that they're getting headaches, their kids can't go outside to play on certain days. So rather than expanding and pushing more gas through the same old pipelines, why don't we address the leaks first? To achieve our goals under the Global Warming Response Act, the DEP must use the tools that it has in front of it to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from projects just like this. The DEP has that authority under the Clean Air Act and under the Air Pollution Control Act to protect New Jersey residents against the threat of air pollution that would cause injurious harm to human health or welfare. Your commissioner said that climate change is the greatest threat to our economy, to our way of life, and to our well-being. That sounds like it fits the bill. DEP must require for all projects an alternatives assessment. It has not done so on this air permit. It needs to go back to the drawing board and assess non-pipeline alternatives to meet whatever alleged peak demand that there is, even though the BPU is saying that there isn't any demand for this. They must also consider whether this project is in the public interest, and by doing so, they must use the cost of carbon to assess what the economic impacts would be from the increased climate emissions that would come as a result of this pipeline expansion project. Specifically, Superstorm Ida just came through this part of the state. It actually killed people. It caused countless billions of dollars in damage. So why are we talking about a project that would guarantee more Superstorm bronchitis more frequently and more ferocious. We all need jobs. This notion that we need gas or that we need fossil fuels for decades to come, which is exactly what this project is doing. It would lock in infrastructure that would operate for decades, guarantees that we will have a dead planet, and there are no jobs on a dead planet. We can, in fact, create more jobs by transitioning rapidly to clean, renewable energy. We can protect our health while we're doing it. Governor Murphy and Commissioner LaTourette, actions speak louder than words. Use your authority, deny this permit.
Our next speaker is Holly Cox.
Hi, my name is Holly Cox, COX. I'm a 24-year New Jersey resident. I'm here to ask Governor Murphy and NJDEP to please align your actions with your stated climate goals and deny the permits for the proposed William Transco REAE project. If approved, this project would increase New Jersey's greenhouse gas emissions by 18%, exacerbate the climate crisis, endanger our lives and health, and is completely unnecessary. William Transco is an Oklahoma company that wants to pump even more frack gas through the New Jersey communities, making them vulnerable to frack gas accidents, leaks, and explosions. Williams has a poor safety record. In the last 10 years, their pipelines and compressor stations have exploded and are caught fire 10 times, and 5 other explosions/fires have occurred in other Williams natural gas facilities. These incidents have killed 6 people and injured 102 others. In 2013, their compressor station here in Branchburg exploded, injuring 13 people. These incidents and compressors have also released methane and other toxic pollutants into the atmosphere. Level buildings created 24/7 noise pollution and contaminated groundwater. Compressor stations are major sources of air pollution and toxic chemicals that affect the short and long-term health of New Jerseyans, reducing our life expectancy. If that's not bad enough, this frack gas they want to pipe through New Jersey is shown to contain radioactive compounds. And due to loopholes in NJDEP air permit regulations, many of these harmful events go unreported, so it's even worse than we think. It's not a question of if, but when the next explosion or pipeline leak will occur in New Jersey. Neither the DEP nor Williams has assessed the risks of leaks or explosions along this line, which would put increased pressure on pipes that are well past their average useful life. This project is a direct threat to the health and safety of New Jerseyans. This project will also exacerbate the climate crisis and lock us into decades more of dirty fossil fuel use at a time when climate scientists tell us we have only 7 years left to drastically cut our emissions if we want to keep our planet habitable. It is impossible to ignore the climate crisis even here in New Jersey, which is one of the fastest warming states in the nation. Almost 1 month now with 90+ degree days and barely any rain, stronger and more extreme storms like Sandy and Ida, New York City subways flooding and people dying in basement apartments, and a 2020 NJDEP report that NJ sea levels are projected to rise more than 5 feet by the end of this century if emissions are not cut quickly. How do you justify approving this fossil fuel expansion project that is an obvious threat to the health and safety and property of New Jersey residents? And Governor Murphy's own administration recently concluded New Jersey has more than enough gas pipeline capacity to meet the state's needs for at least the next decade, even during extremely cold weather when demand peaks, so this project is not even needed. It would only serve to deepen our dependence on dirty frack gas when we need to be moving quickly towards 100% clean, renewable energy. Thus, we can either lock ourselves into infrastructure that will ensure higher utility bills, environmental degradation, and worsen the climate crisis, or we can move toward a regenerative economy that fosters our ecological and social well-being. The answer is obvious. I thus call on Governor Murphy and NJDEP to be the climate leaders they say they are and deny the permits for the proposed Williams Transco project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Charlie Cruteville.
You still don't have your room in order. There's heckling and whistling going on at public speakers. It's intimidating. Get the room in order.
That's unacceptable.
Call the cops to do it if you can't do it.
I have asked.
You've asked, but it's not working.
Sorry, Ken, they're just whistling to women all sorts.
That's
Disgusting.
It is inappropriate. Please, let's move on. Let's all behave, please.
Charlie Crudeville. Charlie,
Yes, good evening. My name is Charlie Crowderville. I'm the Central Jersey organizer with Food and Water Watch. I went to Hillsborough High School and have family and friends here in Somerset County. To paraphrase an old saying, we need more fossil fuel infrastructure like we need a hole in the head. This summer, we've experienced unprecedented heat waves all over the globe, including right here in New Jersey. Increasingly, the heat is characterized as oppressive by the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management, and the air is of lower quality, making it harder to breathe for vulnerable populations. We will have more hot days with poor air quality if we continue to build climate-destroying facilities like the one that's proposed to be expanded today. Climate change also means more frequent and extreme storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and devastating droughts and floods, which will all lead to loss of life, damage to property, and unnecessary costs for local, county, and state and federal governments. I'll note the state is currently under a drought watch for the first time in 6 years. This too will happen more frequently and will be more severe if we don't immediately stop building fossil fuel infrastructure. So-called natural gas is flammable and explosive. We don't have to look far for examples. My home city of New Brunswick, I watched a gas-fed fire kill someone. During Ida, we saw a massive explosion at the Saffron Banquet Hall in Manville. And as has been mentioned, of course, this very compressor station exploded, injuring more than a dozen people less than a decade ago. So I want to say thank you to all the residents and activists who've been instrumental in exposing Williams Transco, their poor safety record, and their extreme schemes for more fossil fuel infrastructure that we don't need. And thank you to the BPU and the Division of Rate Counsel for confirming that there is no need for projects like this one. Finally, I want to note that I'm a union member, a nonprofit, and employees of the union, and I think that we can all agree that every New Jerseyan deserves the right to a good paying job with safe working conditions. And my heart breaks for the employees who were injured and their families. And I think that, you know, what we need is a rapid, just transition to clean energy so that everyone who wants to be working, can have good working conditions, and can be paid well and benefit our society. And I truly hope that our leaders will see the light and act quickly to make that happen. So thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Paula Rogovin. Paula.
Good evening, I'm Paula Rogovin, R-O-G-O-V-I-N. I taught kindergarten and first grade for 44 years before I retired in 2018. And I'm very, very worried about the impact of the pipelines that exist, which would be taxed even more, used even more. And I'm very, very worried about the impact of compressor stations on children, on everyone, but in particular on children. The pipelines, old pipelines that are in this region, and the compressor stations, and then the old ones and the new ones, are vulnerable to accidents. They're vulnerable to explosions. This proposal is a direct threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the local communities. Since 1998, there have been 69 significant incidents along the Williams Transco pipeline. In 2013, a Williams compressor station in Branchburg exploded, injuring 13 people. You in DEP are going to be making a decision about that affects the lives of children and adults. And I want I plead with you to take this personally. Take it personally. You have family, you have friends. Think, as you make this decision, think about the children and the adults in this region who would be impacted by this project. And please reject the project. There are many, many health impacts here, and I'll just read a few of them and just take, again, I say take it personally. Would you want this for yourself? Would you want this for your family, for your community? Emissions from compressor would include hundreds of tons per year of carbon monoxide. You know what happens with carbon monoxide when it's in somebody's house. It's really seriously dangerous. There would be nitrogen oxides, formaldehyde, and other hazardous air pollutants. These pollutants are a danger to public health. The blowdowns, and I know there was one in Roseland a number of years ago, and they had to evacuate children at a school right down the road. Those kids were scared. They were traumatized. The blowdowns, there's release of toxic methane gas. There's short-term health problems, but then the long-term health problems of people living in the area. There's cancer, cardiovascular disease, asthma, COPD, central nervous system dysfunction, birth defects, poor birth outcomes, as well as premature death. I want everyone in this room to think about that. We all know somebody in our families or among our friends who suffer from these illnesses or who died from these illnesses. So this is a life and death kind of decision that you have to make. And I plead with you to reject this project. There's the compressor station would expand, was proven to exceed federal standard for air pollution of formaldehyde, hydrogen sulfide, benzene, and volatiles as much as 10,000-fold. Infants and children, and I'll end here because I know you want me to end. Infants and children are the most likely to be harmed due to their greater biological vulnerability and their long future lifetime in which disease can manifest both in childhood and adulthood. I have 2 baby twins, grandchildren, and well, I have 6 grandchildren, but some really, really young ones. And I'm concerned about each one of my grandchildren and everyone else's children. I plead with you to reject this project.
Our next registered speaker is Diane Hayer.
Hi.
Hire. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, I am here representing myself, my family, and friends who could not make it here today to oppose this horrific project and others like it in New Jersey. What is the purpose of this project? To transport even more dirty fracked gas through our New Jersey communities when it's not even needed, when we should be moving quickly towards 100% clean, renewable energy. Are we in a drought? Yes. Why? Because of climate change due to many projects like this one. New Jersey is one of the fastest warming states in our nation. Projects like this will make our climate even worse, even though it is already at its worst. Droughts like this are happening all over the world. When are we going to use our common sense to see what is happening to our planet, or we will very soon not have one to live on? Projects like this also have major health impacts because of gas compressors emitting all kinds of air pollution, not to mention the public safety threats from pipelines due to accidents and explosions, and many more details too numerous to mention during this time. New Jersey ratepayers should not be on the hook to pay for these unneeded polluting projects. This project is not needed per the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and New Jersey Rate Council filing to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission stating the same. An independent study was done by the BPU and found that New Jersey has more than enough gas pipeline capacity to meet our state's needs for another decade. There are also loopholes in air permit regulations. Inadequate DEP policies is a major concern because many harmful emissions go unreported. Self-reporting companies also underreport. The NJDEP must use its authority to require Williams to conduct an alternative assessment for this proposed project. In conclusion, we no longer need fossil fuel dependence in New Jersey. It is time to move on to a renewable economy, which is already here and flourishing in the US and many other countries around the world. Again, let common sense guide us in the right direction so we will have a livable future on this planet. Thank you, and please reject the permit. Thank you.
The next speaker is Linda Powell.
Linda Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L. Can I ask you a quick question? Isn't part of the expansion plan two Mars 100 turbines?
It's the two turbines, yes.
The two Mars 100, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what they're called, I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, it's been a few years since I've spoken about the dangers associated with compressor stations. The only thing that has changed is that the climate crisis has gotten worse. The sea levels have risen. There have been more devastating storms, floods, fires, and a pandemic. What hasn't changed is the hazardous emissions, the fossil fuels industry's greed, and your role to protect the environment. In this instance, Williams Transco is proposing a massive interstate project for regional energy access expansion project, which includes plans to expand two compressor stations, one is the 505, and build another in New Jersey. We do not need this gas. Many people have said that already. Yet we are the ones who will suffer the direct fallout from this and similar proposed projects. The adverse health effects of air pollutants from these fossil fuel facilities are studied separately. However, we are not impacted by just one chemical, but by the cumulative effect of many chemicals. I'm a healthcare worker, and I did want to actually read out all the, Paula mentioned a few of the diseases that are associated with these emissions. That list is a lot longer, and I wouldn't have had enough time to do it. But these pollutants can cause damage in almost every organ system. Large-scale studies show premature deaths in people living near compressor stations. Certain combinations of air pollutants have synergistic effects, such as small particulate matter, PM 2.5, combining with carcinogens for bringing them deep within our bodies. Small particulate matter can travel hundreds of miles and easily enter lungs. And it has been found that compressing the frac gas that contains many contaminants, I don't even think we know all of the contaminants, and sending it with increased speed and pressure, especially through these aged pipelines that we have in New Jersey, has led to the pipelines corroding at much faster rates than expected. This increased rate of corrosion can lead to unexpected explosions. Williams Transco's safety record may better be termed an accident record, with more than 15 explosions or fires in the past decade. And people have mentioned how many people were killed, how many people were injured. And one of these incidents was an explosion at Compressor Station 505, where 13 people had to seek medical treatment as a result. Apparently, from my scanning their reports today, Transco also wants to store liquid natural gas at this facility as well. We all know the air pollutants from fossil fuel facilities have a major impact on climate crisis. And people have mentioned that New Jersey is the fastest warming state in the country, and we have already suffered from severely devastating superstorms. The pollution from each project, or in this case, a part of the project, is evaluated separately. But we suffer the consequences of all these pollutants from all these projects cumulatively. If this type of compressor station can pass the state emission thresholds that were updated in 2018, then it is time for another, more restrictive update. How can New Jersey possibly meet a reduction emission reduction goals if we are increasing emissions from new or expanding fossil fuel projects? Obviously, we cannot. We cannot reduce our emissions while granting permits to fossil fuel projects that increase these toxic, harmful emissions. So I truly hope that you will reject the air permit for this and other similar projects.
Next speaker is Anjali Ramos.
Sorry, having microphone issues. I've been. Yeah, I don't know. No, you're fine. It's okay. Everybody can hear me, so it's. Oh, wow. It's not just me. Good evening, everybody. I apologize for the microphone issue. Hello? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Apologies for the microphone. I'm Anjali Ramos, R-A-M-O-S. I'm the New Jersey State Director for the Sierra Club. Hi, New Jersey DEP, Division of Air Quality. Nice to see you. I'm here representing New Jersey Sierra Club and our 80,000 members and supporters who believe that this expansion project will cause irreparable harm to the environment. We oppose the proposed expansion given that this project will exacerbate climate change and impact the safety, health, and well-being of communities in New Jersey. This proposed expansion goes against New Jersey's commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and address climate change impacts as it has been mentioned by previous speakers. This expansion alone will bring an increase of 6,635 tons per year of CO2 equivalent to a facility total of 94,046 tons per year of CO2 equivalent. Of those emissions, 233 tons per year are methane emissions, a much more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. Expanding this compressor station entirely exacerbates the methane leakage problem. It's so interesting, Matt, that you mentioned fix the leakage before we expand the compressor. Let us talk about numbers to put this into perspective. The draft permit lists a total of 24 tons per year of methane under significant sources. The source is truly regulated under an air pollution control permit. However, the same draft permit also lists a methane emissions total for insignificant sources, the sources that are not subject to emission rate limits. This total is 209 tons per year of methane, and most of it, and if not all, comes from fugitive emissions, piping leakage. The facility has to repair these fugitive emissions no later than 30 calendar days after its detection. But when it's not technically feasible to repair without shutting down the compressor or conducting a blowdown, the facility has up to 2 years to fix the source of the fugitive emissions. 2 years worth of natural gas pumping to the ambient air with no control. Yet Williams Transco wants to add 2 natural gas fire combustion turbines, 1 natural gas fire emergency generator, and 1 natural gas condensate liquid storage tank to this facility. More fugitive emissions. This expansion of this facility is a contradiction to New Jersey's greenhouse gas emission reduction goals and the climate action that the public from our state truly wants to see. This expansion, again, exacerbates climate change impacts. Even more alarmingly, the emissions of methane and other contaminants aside from VOCs or volatile organic compounds coming from blowdown events are not included in the air pollution control permit, not even the scheduled ones. Yellow, okay. Don't confuse us. The regulatory definition, and this is from the permit, of a blowdown event only requires the reporting of non-emergency events and the emissions of VOCs only when these exceed 2,000 pounds. That's equivalent to 1 ton. For reference, 1 ton of VOC is an incredibly high amount of emissions, which then results in a lack of reporting of all of the smaller blowdown events, which in reality, they're not really that small. VOC VOCs are a large group of chemicals that include toxic carcinogens like formaldehyde. Unfortunately, knowing the VOCs emissions from blowdown events without understanding the speciation of it does not really inform the public or surrounding communities of the health impacts that they could be exposed to. As you know, DEP, there's no associated health factor to VOCs. There is many if you speciate them. Additionally, under this current definition, all emergency blowdown events do not need to be reported. These emergency events are not rare for compressor station facilities. Consequently, for all of the reasons that I've mentioned, the current significant modification draft permit does not account for the true impact of this expansion to the surrounding communities and exacerbates climate change impacts and therefore should not be approved. We strongly urge New Jersey DEP to reject this significant modification. Thank you for the opportunity to
Our next speaker is Ray Cantor.
I'll try not to break this.
Thank you. My name is Ray Cantor, C-A-N-T-O-R. I am Vice President of Government Affairs with the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. NJDEP is the state's largest business association with about 10,000 members. We represent everyone from the largest corporations that you all know down to your local Main Street mom and pop, pizzerias. We have a lot of energy companies who are in our membership. We count as our members many of the utilities, fossil fuel companies, but we also have as our members those involved in renewables, solar, and wind. And of course, we have all our members use energy to run their businesses. We take energy policy, affordability, reliability very seriously. We also take our environment very seriously, as do the integrity of the regulatory process. And it's for all of those reasons that we support this project. This really is an easy review for the department. The project meets all your regulatory standards. It reduces emissions. How many projects come in that will replace 8 old compressor stations, legacy compressors with 2 efficient gas-fired turbines that will reduce emissions by 95%? This project will allow for more gas throughput into New Jersey without laying a single additional length of pipe and disturbing our natural resources. This project, met FERC standards, FERC and its DEIS said any environmental impacts will be less than significant. And of course, this project will also allow for future fuels to come in, which may supplant natural gas and lead us to a more renewable and net zero future. Of course, we also care about the economic benefits of the project being a business association. We recognize the good paying union jobs that will be created as a result of this project. And we also, again, support the fact that we're going to have a steady supply of natural gas. Energy is essential for our economy, it's essential for our way of life. And again, this project meets all of those criteria. So again, very simply, the project meets DEP's regulatory standards. It should be approved on that basis alone. There's many other benefits for the state of New Jersey, and we ask you to approve this project. Thank you.
Our next registrant is Curtis Wells. Curtis?
Good evening, my name is Curtis Wells. I'm a member of Teamsters Local 469, WELLS. I'm going to keep this short. I respect various time tonight. I know a lot of people want to talk. I'm here tonight representing thousands of Teamster members. We support the upgrades to the 505 station in Branchburg. The upgrades will reduce major emissions by over 90%. The work at Station 505 will be completed on the existing facility without laying any new pipeline. I worked on Williams jobs in the past and can tell you they're some of the safest and careful
I appreciate that. Ed Patasnik, I'm a council member of Franklin Township.
Okay.
Live here in Somerset County. Yeah, P as in Peter, O, T as in Tom, O, S as in Sam, N as in Nancy, AK. And then in addition, it's good to be here in Somerset County at Raritan Valley because I taught high school chemistry just down the street at Bridgewater Raritan Regional High School for over a decade. Right now, I'm executive director of New Jersey League of Conservation Voters. And what we do is we represent Democrats, Republicans, and independents who care deeply about our environment and the health of our families and for future generations. And we're opposed strongly to this project for a number of reasons. But mostly, the project would increase the volume and the speed of the gas transported through the existing pipeline network, and with it, all the health and related climate impacts. A lot of folks that are here are in support of the jobs that will be created with regard to this project, and it's interesting, a lot of the folks that are testifying, 2 weeks ago I was on a Zoom call similarly supporting a project in offshore wind. And so I just want to be clear that, you know, there are good jobs, there are good union jobs and local jobs that can't be outsourced from other projects, that we don't have to rely on ones that are literally going to make us sick. More likely to give people cancer, more likely to give people asthma. If you're living in Newark, New Jersey, you're 4 times more likely to suffer from asthma. And that's because of air quality. And projects like this proposed compressor station and the expansion are going to only exacerbate those conditions in our local community, and we're opposed to those. In fact, the fastest growing jobs area is the green economy and renewables in the state of New Jersey, and that's where the direction we should be going, so we can ensure that we have family-sustaining jobs for all those who want them. We oppose this project because, as we heard before, it's unneeded. It'll harm our health and our environment, it's dangerous, and it moves us away from a clean energy future. It would add over 16 million tons of carbon dioxide, equivalent greenhouse gases every year. And that's approximately a 16% increase of our state's total transmissions and emissions, in direct conflict with New Jersey's goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030. And like pipelines, compressor stations are vulnerable to leaks and disasters, including fires and explosion. In addition to the emergencies that we heard about, there are also potential health impacts from regular operation. And I think that's what we're here to talk about today, you know, the air permits. The dirty air from these compressor stations running. Just like if you started an internal combustion engine car in your garage, you're certain to die if the door is closed. These emissions are going into our air, and they can cause difficulty in breathing, asthma exacerbation, high blood pressure, headaches, and the long-term health effects could also include heart attacks, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and cancer. And not to mention they're a nuisance that we heard from some neighbors that they're worried about the light pollution and the noise pollution as well as the air pollution. And one of the top agencies in the state of New Jersey, the Board of Public Utilities, is to be commended for saying that this project is unneeded. So all of the things that we listed, all of the air pollution, if it's in the limits or not, it's not needed. We don't need to add these chemicals that are bad for our health to our air. We don't need more people in the emergency room. We don't need more children carrying around respirators. Today we joined with a number of our colleagues, 75 signatories from across diverse interests, including the medical community, business interests, students, justice advocates, environmental advocates, labor advocates, and labor members, asking them to reject the REA project. And we sent that letter to Governor Murphy. Everyone in this area experienced huge devastation from Hurricane Ida. I mean, I thought my house was going to be washed away. My neighbors still aren't even in their homes because of that storm. In a 30-year mortgage, you can expect a 100-year storm. And this project will make that worse, in addition to polluting our air. So we can't say no. We're urging you to reject this air permit and save lives. Thank you.
Councilmember, can you just, for the record, let me know what town you were representing?
Franklin Township, Ward 1.
Thank you.
decades, Williamson has been part of North Jersey's energy landscape, powering our homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses. I'd like for the crowd to consider their own transportation means here tonight, as well as the comfort they expect in their homes when they get there this evening. The proposed upgrades to the existing compressor station satisfy NJDEP's state-of-the-art emission control technology requirements and stringent air quality standards. Anti-natural gas groups are using fear tactics to misinform elected officials and residents of our state to stop this and many other projects. A risk assessment was conducted as part of the review for the permit applications, and health risk was determined to be negligible, which is consistent with NJDEP guidelines. I support this project. In regards to the aging pipelines, perhaps we need more pipelines. Thank you.
Sir, if you have a question, just if you can go out front to the reception desk, they'll be able to help you. Next name on the list, I'm having trouble, is it Gregory Sear?
That's correct.
Hi, my name is Gregory Sear, CYR. I'm a member of Operating Engineers Local 825. I've been a 58-year resident of Somerset County, 30-year Branchburg resident. Always considered one of us to be a good neighbor. These jobs are done very responsibly. Carry on the work. That's part why I've been able to live in Somerset County, this many years, is I've been on some of these projects. It's helped me out. They go forward. I did a little bit cleaner energy. With the compressor station, we need to upgrade infrastructure at times, all infrastructure at times. During Hurricane Sandy, because I had natural gas, my family, my friends, and my neighbors were all able to safely warm up, charge their devices, do their wash, take showers. Whereas in this neighborhood, we were 13 days without power, so it afforded, some of my close people to be able to come in and have a little sanctity. And it was much appreciated at that time, And that's about all I have. All right, thank you.
Next speaker is Fred Potter.
Good evening, Fred Potter, Teamsters Local 469. I'll keep it short. Not only do I approve this project for the good jobs that it creates, and they are temporary, but all union jobs are temporary, basically. You build a bridge, it gets done, you go to another one. But also because these upgrades will improve all the things these people are talking about. Reduce the noise and the emissions. So thank you, approve this project.
Next up is David Nito.
How you guys doing? My name is David Neto, N-E-T-O. I'm a Somerset County resident. I live in Bridgewater. I'm also a member of Laborers Local 472. I have about 13 years in utility and general construction. I'm here to ask you for your support for the Williams Train Coast Station 505 project. The project has many benefits beyond the safety and other improvements that will come from upgrading the facility. The project will generate additional tax revenues to the state and to local bodies inside Somerset County. It will do this by creating jobs during construction for residents like myself. This in turn generates positive economic impact from workers residing locally who rely upon local businesses, and we support those local businesses while we work locally. I also buy local as often as I can. So I ask for your support for the permit for this project. Thank you.
Next speaker is Joseph Bove.
Hi, how are you guys? Can you hear me? Should be able to, I'm not wearing a mask. My name is Joseph Bove, B-O-V-E. This project is a perfect example of the type of construction that is important to people like me. Veteran, lifelong New Jersey resident, I care about the outdoors, avid fisherman. I believe that opposition to this project is based on fear rather than facts and unfairly targets the Tennessee pipeline. The draft permit is the result of a thorough review by the NJDEP that took over 2 years to complete. This proposal is designed in the anticipation of the region's energy goals and will serve as a bridge to our renewable energy future. Williams is committed to conducting business according to the highest standards of environmental protection with a focus on natural habitats, waterways, and clean air. As we move towards renewables, we will need natural gas to fill in the gaps of wind and solar production. The project has conducted extensive outreach in the community, including having a negotiated agreement with the township. Let's get this done. But I'd also like to say that the majority of our union brothers and sisters are all avid outdoorsmen, farmers, fishermen, hunters, people that interact with nature every day. And some of the people I feel that spoke in this room and have a tendency to speak at these events have a disconnect with the environment. They're not out there each and every day. And none of us would be supporters to a project that would have negative impact on the environment. And we're all out there every day as watchdogs to that, and we will uphold that the entire time. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next speaker is Lucas Abice. Close enough.
How you doing? Lucas Apice, A-P-I-C-E, from Pipefitters Local 274.
Sorry, I wasn't close at all.
No, it's all right. I just want to say I started my career in a local 274 at a gas plant. I was at Williams Transco Pipeline in Carlstadt, New Jersey. And the reason I'm saying this is because I firsthand saw the facility and how it worked. And the expansion is just going to make everything better. That they did was to retrofit the whole facility to make it safer and more efficient. With this new project, it's going to do the same thing. Efficient and make it safer. As everybody was saying up here that they were against it, the thing that they're doing is to actually create a better environment with a new retrofitted location and actually fix all the problems that they're talking about. So I do support this project. Thank you.
Our last registered speaker is Daniel Santaniello. Daniel?
Hey, my name is Daniel Santinello, S-A-N-T-A-N-I-E-L-L-O. I'm a union contractor
sit down or quietly.
Okay, thank you.
Just let's wait for the doors to close. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Sorry about that. I thought I signed the right paper. My name is Allison McLeod, MC capital L-E-O-D. I am the Public Policy Director for the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, and I thank you for giving everyone the opportunity to testify this evening and for hearing everyone. So tonight we heard a lot of concerns from people on both sides of the project, valid concerns. We heard concerns about capacity, that we need more natural gas. The Board of Public Utilities commissioned a study that said that we have enough natural gas, not only now, but to meet our needs in through 2030 into the future, even without any electrification and on the peak demand days. So we know that we have enough natural gas. We heard concerns from residents, people who live nearby, people who have children or grandchildren who are concerned about emissions. They're concerned about public health. We heard concerns about safety. We heard about the incident that Transco had in 2013 with fire. And we heard about climate concerns, about total emissions for the overall project, not just the Branchburg compressor station, which I think is an important distinction, that this is one part of a larger project, that the regional energy access expansion includes not only this compressor station expansion, but the creation of an entirely new compressor station where one does not exist right now in West Deptford, which frankly is within 1 to 10 miles of communities that are already historically overburdened. And we heard about those effects as well. We also heard concerns about jobs, and we heard about, wanting to spur the economy, and I respect that and I understand that. I come from a union family and I sympathize with that. But I also want to acknowledge that as we transition towards a green energy economy in the future, there are good union jobs there. There are local, well-paying jobs in that economy as well. But the issue that's before us tonight is that the air permit can't consider any of those things. It doesn't talk about the jobs. It doesn't talk about the climate. You can only look at the air permit that's in front of you. And that's one of the challenges that we have with this project, is that this air permit is just one part of a larger whole. And so when we talk about increasing emissions, when we talk about climate impacts, we're talking about the entirety of the Regional Energy Access Expansion Project. And that's why we've written to the governor, that's why we've advocated towards the BPU, because this is just one limited hearing, but you end up with death by 1,000 cuts because you allow each permit and then suddenly you've allowed the entirety of the project and the entirety of those climate and public health and environmental justice impacts. So we urge there to be a way for you to consider the entirety of the project and the entirety of the impacts, not just this one piece, because we know in the real world it doesn't work in a vacuum, that the emissions will affect everyone, not just from this one piece. And so I thank you for allowing me to testify this evening.
All right. It's now 7:33. It does not appear there's anyone else who's interested in commenting at this hearing. We're going to take a short break. And if anyone decides they do want to further testify or choose to testify, we will go back on the record and formally close the hearing. But we're going to take at least a 10-minute break and take a pulse in about 10 minutes or so. So now we're going off